la bamba, para bailar la bamba, para bailar la bamba, que necesita una poca de gracia. Por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré. Baila bamba, baila bamba, baila bamba, baila bamba. Yo no soy marinero, yo no soy marinero, yo no soy marinero, soy capitán, soy capitán, soy capitán. Baila bamba, baila bamba, baila bamba, baila bamba. Soy radiocapitalista, soy radiocapitalista. Cualquier fascista, yo no soy fascista, soy anarquista. Baila bamba, 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 baila.
Okay, welcome everybody to another edition of Movies to Lose Your Friends by Attack. I actually have several different titles now, but I think we're now just staying with that theme of every Saturday here. And welcome. My name is Paulie. Welcome to the Latino Slant. If this is your first time here, let us know. Let the good people, my good wrenches in the chat know that you are here. Say hola, and let's do a little Slantino roll call. Let us know you're here, and what movie are you digging out of these two? Do we got Dune, or do we have Masters of the Universe? Dune from 1984 theatrical version, or the 1987 Masters of the Universe with Dolph Lundgren. And let's bring in, as you guys do that, let's bring in our co-host, our buddy from the north. So far up north, we don't know where exactly he's from or where he lives. We kind of see him sometimes on sites if your eyes are keen and your mind is open. He is the Yeticast.
I'm a master at hide and go seek. A top ranking.
Nice, man. Yeah.
Man.
How was your
week? Oh, go ahead.
No. How was your week?
Oh, it was good, but these movies.
Yeah.
Oh, man, the title is so true because it is testing my patience, testing my friendships.
Yeah. Well, the gentleman from Midnight's Edge picked these movies. And,
yes.
We're, we'll take some of the burden for them. It's, they're kind of used to it too.
Yeah.
They're used to getting heat. But I think this is, I'm trying to remember when I've seen Andre and Tom on the same stream on someone else's show.
I don't know if I have.
Well, that's another treat here on the Latino Slant. That's pretty cool, huh, Yeti?
Yeah, it is cool. And, it's going to make up for all the heat that we're going to receive for Dune, because I know that's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, it's very rare. It's very rare. So, as is a Yeti, as is a Yeti being on a YouTube channel is very rare. I was laying out that one for you, Yeti, to go with the joke. Man. Come on, brother. Come on. That's funny, man.
I got to get my head in the game. We've got some great guests.
Let's not wait any longer. Let's give them the fine Latino Slant welcome here for the first time on our channel. We have together Tom and Andre. Hey!
Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is where you is. I'm Tom.
Greetings, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, bienvenidos, Andre. ¿Todo bien?
Yeah, bien burritos.
Todo bien. ¿Y tú?
Aquí nomás. Listamos for a crazy talk of these movies. Wow, man. But Andre has a very strong Latino connection, guys. A very strong Latino connection. Probably the strongest that you can get. But if you're not, as technically a Latino, a Spanish person, is to be married to one, to be with one. Right, Andre?
Yeah, I guess pretty much that's a pretty strong connection right there. So
That's a great connection, man. And I know you have a big love affair for the Latino culture and all that stuff. I was very surprised, Tom, when you said to me that Andre is a big Blood In, Blood Out fan.
Yeah, he is. I have not seen the movie since years ago, and I'm trying to even remember if I've seen anything more than maybe a TV cut of it. It's a very difficult movie to find. I did stumble across the director's cut. The quality isn't the best, but yeah, Andre, you like the film Blood In, Blood Out.
yeah, absolutely. Because honestly, I had never heard about the movie until it suddenly aired on one of the more obscure Norwegian TV channels. And I caught it by complete coincidence. I saw like the trailer, like the commercial for the movie and like the commercial breaks, and I thought, well, this looks cool. And then I saw the full movie. I honestly haven't researched exactly how many cuts there are. The one that I saw was easily 3 hours long. But whichever cut it was, it blew me away. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. The performances, the look into the cultures. The dichotomy of the character who as he said himself, he can go anywhere because he's white on the outside, he's brown on the inside. All of that, it was fascinating. I'd never seen a movie like that before, like real hardcore drama of because for instance where I'm from, like Nordic noir, may be exotic to you, but that's like our everyday life kind of. Whereas to me, that was like something really exotic and tremendously cool. So that movie blew me away. It's like one of the best crime dramas I know of.
So well said, so well put. I mean, really fast, and we'll get into our movies of the day, Yeti. But Blood In, Blood Out is about the lead character's half Mexican, half white, but he looks white, and he ends up in prison here with this amazing cast of characters, and his character is on the far left, and then you could see Danny Trejo on the far right, on the far right. And what we're trying to do is get the cast together for a reunion. But we'll make those announcements as we go along, Tom.
Yeah, we're working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes. We're excited about that. We definitely want to talk about, and that's a part of it. But yeah, for now, I don't think we can really say too much.
Nope.
Yet.
No. I think I said more than enough.
Yes. I think we're good on that. But yeah, so what we are here for, though, is to talk about movies that you may lose friends by if you decided to recommend them.
Oh, it's my favorite day of the week right here, when you get that cathartic release of actually talking about the things you were forced to watch.
And when you brought up Dune was on the list, I'm like, well, I got to bring in Andre because that's like one of his favorite films.
Absolutely. That being said, though, I do understand that although it's one of my favorite movies, certainly not necessarily the theatrical cut, which is the one that we'll be discussing today, and many others have it as their favorite movies, or certainly one that is greatly underrated. If you show someone cold that's not familiar with what it is or something, like for instance, if you take your girlfriend or like any kind of friend really that's completely unfamiliar to it, and you try to expose them to especially the theatrical cut of it, I can absolutely see how that would be a movie to lose friends by.
So let me ask you this. Did you guys read the books prior to watching these movies?
I haven't, but Andre.
Yes. First, I saw clips of the movie. I never saw the whole movie, but I saw like bits and pieces of clips of it. I didn't quite get the story then, but I was fascinated by the visuals. And then years later, I read the book, and then I watched the movie, both the movie and the miniseries. And what I found was that the miniseries, in terms of being an adaptation of the book, that's vastly superior. Whereas the Lynch movie, the one we'll be talking about today,
Yeah.
that kind of leaves some to be desired. However, in terms of visuals, I think it's absolutely intriguing. Same with the music. And just for that, you can see that there was something here. The execution of it didn't quite work, but the intent and the potential was to make something truly special.
Yeah,
Well,
because
I
I know
wanna-
when I went in. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
No, I want to
that was you.
lay the scene a little bit for everyone with a review from 1984 by Roger Ebert about Dune, and it keeps clicking up. I don't clicking down. So let me see.
Well, while you're trying to get that working, I think it should be pointed out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you're not going to point this out, but this Dune was one of the few times where Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel agreed on the worst movie of the year.
Right.
Oh,
It's like a dream, my friend from Hollywood was explaining. It doesn't make any sense, and the special effects are straight from the dime store. But if you give up trying to understand it and just sit back and let it wash around your mind, it's not bad. Unquote. That
Here's
was not.
I
Go
just
ahead.
had to say one thing about the special effects. The
Yes.
only special effects in the movie that are actually really bad
Mhm.
are some of the spaceship shots, which were done on the hurry. But the movie actually gets unfairly lambasted because when you look at the set design, it was actually filmed in Mexico, in Ciudad de Juarez, at the sound stages there, and they're massive. They're some of the biggest stages ever filmed. So that's all perfect, and the same with the puppetry and all of that. That's all really good. The only thing that is lacking are the spaceship shots. They need work, but that's something with like the movie gets unfairly maligned for, because you have like maybe 3, 4, 5 shots in the movie which are bad, but other than that, the set design and all of that is
There's some great matte
stellar.
paintings in it
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
yeah. I never
Just
had
it-
any issues with that stuff. It was the way that I know they're kind of portraying the story. Because when I jumped in, I've never read the books. It's something I plan to read, but I felt like I was missing something. I felt like there was this giant gap between the information that was on the screen and what I should know to tie everything together.
Yeah.
too. Funny you bring that up.
I just want to read a couple lines here, and
We'll get back to that actually.
yeah,
yeah.
it took Dune about 9 minutes to completely strip me out of my anticipation. This movie is a real mess. It's incomprehensible. Okay, loves doing that. Ugly, unstructured, pointless excursion into the murkier realms of one of the most confusing screenplays of all time. Wow. That's all I'll read. That's all.
And I'm willing to bet Roger Ebert had read the book. I'm not sure on that, but knowing him at that time, he probably had, I would imagine.
Yeah. 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 Now, let's talk about the cast, because I'd like to talk about something positive about this film. I really loved the cast. I actually liked who they picked. I loved Kyle, Brad Dourif, from the lead characters to the supporting characters, even his dad.
Wonderful cast.
Jürgen Prochnov played the father, the Duke Atreides.
Yeah, it was great.
Great German character actor.
So
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it seemed like everyone there really committed to their roles. Like they bought into what the vision was together. From the main character, he really seemed like he was attempting to go an extra mile to, be a leader. And I know the way he walked and his stance and the poses, the forms, I bought into that part. So I agree with you guys. The casting was done well. That part was good.
Well, I think the best place to start with this is kind of like you got to kind of step back first, and first and beyond the fact that
help us out
Lynch, that Lynch is a complete and utter bar. Like he is. Like I love him to death. He is one of those guys you could listen to for hours because he just comes up with the wackiest shit.
Wow.
Like he has a YouTube channel. He comes on every morning and he does a number of the day and the weather. I
Really?
shit you not. He just comes up with a random number of the day. He goes, "Hello, this is David Lynch, and today's number is 2. And the weather today will be sunny in Florida." And he does this shit. He's just a fucking whack job. He has a band too. He
Wow.
sings, if you can call it that.
Wow.
But
David
like,
Lynch, yeah, the thing with David Lynch is that he is actually a true auteur.
yes,
And actually, before you begin with David Lynch, you actually have to go back a little bit
Let's go
further.
back. Yeah, let's go back.
Yeah, let's go back further, because before it was a movie, it was a book by Frank Herbert, and the book is an undisputed masterpiece. And in between it being a book by Frank Herbert and it being a movie by David Lynch, it was almost a number of other movies. There were like 3 separate Dune movies in development.
Correct.
Prior to this one actually happening. And the second of those 3 is the more significant, because that one was the one that was to be made by Alejandro Jodorowsky,
Right.
who I'm sure you must be familiar with, because he is one of the great auteurs out there. And we might not have gotten a good Dune adaptation out of it, but we really missed out on a really special movie. And there was a documentary made a couple of years back called Jodorowsky's Dune, where a Danish filmmaker actually went to interview Jodorowsky and go through in detail what kind of movie he was going to make. And who was going to be in it, his vision, his designs, how he had partnered up with the French artist Moebius for the design work and all of that. It was going to be unbelievably. Sadly, they weren't able to come up with the last few millions that were needed, so the project didn't happen and the whole thing collapsed. And I do believe that's a problem for the movie. Yeah, we lost out. The alternate universe where that movie happened is probably a much cooler universe to be in. But in the end, though, we did get David Lynch's Dune. And here's the comment that I wanted to make, that Alejandro Jodorowsky, he is quite a character. And when he learned that Jodorowsky, that David Lynch would be the one directing the Dune movie, then he was actually afraid. And the reason for that is that, because he saw that David Lynch is an auteur, just like Jodorowsky himself. Worse yet, he's a more experienced filmmaker. He might be able to make a better Dune movie than Jodorowsky might be able to. So that was his worry, because he had admitted later that he wasn't proud of it, but he kind of wished that movie to go down in flames and ruins, because if he couldn't be the one to make it, then he didn't want to see anyone else do it either, and especially not David Lynch, who he was worried could make a better movie than he could himself.
Yeah.
Even though Jodorowsky had been around longer.
Jodorowsky may have been around longer, but the movies that he made, if you look at those movies, they are very, very fascinating movies. They are indeed, but they are not proper Hollywood productions. Like at the time when was to make...
But at the time it was only Eraser, which was a real independent.
There was also
film.
The Elephant, but there was also The Elephant Man.
Right.
And The Elephant Man was a movie of quite a different caliber than anything that Jodorowsky had done up until that time.
Yeah.
So it was The Elephant Man that landed David Lynch that movie to begin with. But that was also the movie that showed Jodorowsky that this guy is an auteur like me, that you can tell from Eraserhead, but at the same time, he is someone that can do a proper blockbuster movie, as displayed by The Elephant Man.
Well, funnily enough, Lynch was actually faced with a choice. He could have done another film besides this, right, Andre?
Yes, he could, because David Lynch was also in the running to direct the third original Star Wars movie, the one we now call Episode 6, The Return of the Jedi. That is the caliber of filmmaker that David Lynch was considered to be by the industry at the time, someone who was ready for a Star Wars movie. In the end, he accepted to do Dune instead, because he thought that there he would have greater level of creative control rather than to make a movie for George Lucas. There's an irony to that.
Right.
but that was the intention, at least.
Let's put it on pause. Let's do it. We did get one tip, and let's say hi to a couple people, and then we'll jump back in. Sounds cool, guys?
Absolutely.
All right. Kip Ellis. Kip, what's up, Kip? Gave us $1.99. This is for you, Vato. Eso. Kip Ellis says, love the show, Yeti and Paulie. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let's say hello to Purple Valkyrie. Hola. Your Muslim uncle. Hail, Andre and Tom Kong.
Hail.
Mexican Ironman says, hail to the doctors and PhD of film. Yeah, man, I feel like I'm getting a lesson here, Yeti. I'm having to keep up with these guys.
I know.
It's great, dude. We have 30 people in the chat. We have a lot of likes. I'll check that in a minute. Let me see if I could say hello to a couple other people. Justin Proper, what's up, senor? He's here. That 70s rock fan. And of course, one of the OG Slantinos, Eric O'Sullivan. Hey, I'm in the subway station. Well, be careful, Vato. All right, man. We got a nice, lively crowd.
Now, there was one person in there that brought up Cynical Lindsay, and she said, fun fact, Mel Brooks produced The Elephant Man.
Did he really?
Yeah, that's what it just said. I thought that would be very interesting to point out.
Yes, he did.
He did indeed.
Oh,
yeah.
And
go ahead, Andre, please.
Yeah, and I was going to say that this is something that actually happens very, very frequently, that many actors and filmmakers that you associate with one thing, they very often diversify, and they operate behind the stages of other movies entirely. Like, for instance, Bradley Cooper, who is someone that you will associate primarily with comedies and everything like that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he was one of the producers behind The Joker. Never saw it on screen, but he was nonetheless a producer and prolific behind the scenes.
Danny DeVito's another one like that.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt,
yep. Demi Moore. Yeah, there's a lot of them that do that. There was another one I was just trying to think of, and I just lost who it was, but yeah.
So at that time, I mean, David Lynch was sought off, was very sought after. Oh, go ahead.
Believe it or not, Bing Crosby is somebody who's instrumental to the video market, believe it or not, because he was one of the first people to use videotape.
I believe it. Yeah.
And he pushed it, and so he actually started producing films like Willard and stuff like that, so he had stuff to put on videotape. So yeah.
Wow. Go ahead.
That was it. Yeah.
I thought I heard Yeticast.
Oh no, I was just in awe of their total knowledge of movies. It was like, I gotta take some notes, guys.
And then I guess the other person or the other people involved, or person at least, there's two, but mainly that Andre would probably bring up next would be the De Laurentiis group.
Right. Because
he's a major player in this.
I see De Laurentiis's lather all over this movie. I see set prop pieces from Flash Gordon. I was like, ooh, they used that in that scene. I swear to God, Andre.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny. There's reason why this and our other film go together very well.
Oh no, oh no. So yeah, where were we? We were talking about David Lynch being so sought after. He
Yeah,
might have
so
done
this
Return
is
of the
where we got to
Jedi.
get into the De Laurentises.
Yeah.
Yes, because the thing with Dino De Laurentiis, he's actually an Italian filmmaker. He came from Italy. He started out there, and then he moved to Hollywood, and he basically continued doing what he had been doing in Italy, which has in Italy they have a very interesting movie scene, and he kind of continued doing that in Hollywood. Now, what that means is that he was willing to take chances on projects and productions that no one else did. Like, for instance, after then Dune, they've been trying to make a movie of Dune in some form or another the last 15 years, and it had all ended in disaster. Now, who was the one to swoop in and pick up the rights? Dino De Laurentiis. When King Kong was decided to be like a holy movie that could never be remade or anything like that, well, who was the one to do it? Dino De Laurentiis. When no one wanted to touch Conan the Barbarian, who was the one who decided, you know what, I'm going to do this? Dino De Laurentiis. So he was a risk taker. He was someone unconventional who invested in movies and in very avant-garde filmmakers. Now, that was the good thing. The bad thing is that when he had done that, then very frequently he would micromanage, especially if the distributor that he answered to gave him some kind of note. He would never ever offer any pushback. He would never stand up for his movies. He would never stand up for his director. Instead, he would just say, okay, Universal, which was the distributor for Dune, they have said that the movie can be no more than 2 hours long. What's this you say, Lynch, about you can't do it in 2 hours? Well, that's a shame. You're going to anyway.
It did feel like it needed an extra
him.
2 hours in there.
Yeah. And that's the bad thing about it, because the movie went through many different iterations, and what they didn't do well enough was prepare in advance exactly what kind of movie to make. This is something that they needed to clear before they signed any contract, but they didn't. So David Lynch, he went in trying to make one kind of a movie, and he filmed one kind of a movie. And then the De Laurentiis group, they then decided that, no, this is too long. It can be a maximum of 2 hours, and that can't be done. Doesn't matter. We're going to make it happen anyway, because Universal says we have to.
Wow.
And for that reason, that's why the movie has the story issues, why you feel that so much is missing. Part of that is the way how it has been scripted. That's part of it. But the bigger part usually is because there's so much footage left on the cutting room floor. There are multiple editions of Dune. You have both longer official versions, you have fan edits, and the worst of the lot is the theatrical version. The one that we saw in theaters is the worst one by far.
Really?
Yes. That's what was the audience was treated to. And then it kind of doesn't help what an amazing cast you have. It doesn't help the amazing production design or the potential of the story, because then everything has been botched in the editing bay to make the movie as short and as truncated as possible. And that's the problem with Dino De Laurentiis. He didn't do anything to protect Lynch and his vision there.
And yet, people still love this film, Andre.
And that only goes to show how special what Lynch was trying to do could have been. And indeed, in some versions of it still is. But of course, you'll never know that watching the theatrical version.
I'm going to surprise the panel and say I don't hate the theatrical version. I don't think it's a bad film.
Really?
It is, and this is coming from somebody who's never read the books. And of course, I watched it originally on VHS. Couldn't get past the scene with where Patrick Stewart and Kyle MacLachlan are fighting the first time.
Yeah,
I just lost
Gurney Halleck.
Yeah. The whole thing lost me there. Well, then, like years later on DVD, of course, and Blu-ray or whatever, when I could actually appreciate not only the visuals but see it in the full widescreen aspect ratio like you're supposed to, kind of just pay a little bit more attention. And I'm one of those who can see a movie and see like a little bit more of the potential that was there. So I knew there was more to this movie than I was seeing.
It does feel that way. There seems like there's so much more depth, but it doesn't come across. At least it didn't to me. Yeah.
No, and don't get me wrong. Like, if I was to recommend this movie, I would not recommend the theatrical version, and Andre knows that. That's a given, and we never have. We've always recommended one of the fan edits. And there is an extended cut that is legally available, that is officially released, but it's basically, to my knowledge, the television version.
Yes, because basically the extended version, the legal one, which is called the extended version, this is interesting enough. This one is not directed by David Lynch, or that is, he still directed the official footage. But when Dino De Laurentiis group came back and said, you know what, we need an extended version for TV, for the TV market.
This was
so
something
it can be played over 2 nights.
Yeah, this is
Andre,
something De Laurentiis did all the time.
Yeah,
Andre, let me ask you a question. 1984, when this came out, this man was the reason why I went to go see the movie. He was the biggest rock star at the time. I mean, he really was.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I've said this how many times, Andre? How the fuck do you have Sting in the movie and you don't have him on the soundtrack?
Well, not only that, that's a great point. That's a great point.
Even if he's just sitting there singing,
that he was so popular at this point. He wasn't like Sting from the 1990s, kind of safe Sting, older Sting. He was like Sting.
I know. Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying.
What's the story behind? If you guys know any juicy stories, how did they get this guy?
Andre would know this story best.
Tom, if you know specifics, because I'm trying to recall.
There was other people up for the part. They were trying to get. I think they were looking at. They for some reason had the idea to get a rock star, because weren't they looking at like Mick Jagger and a few other people in that?
Jodorowsky. Jodorowsky was looking at Mick Jagger for that part. So I do not know exactly the connection there, but for some reason, David Lynch decided that he is the one. And interestingly, Jodorowsky wanted Mick Jagger for this role.
I don't know if like Billy Idol or anybody else was up for the part, but you can definitely tell that's who they wanted, was somebody like that, like a Billy Idol, a Sting. They clearly wanted this part to go. This is probably one of the better cast parts, and that's the thing. No, but at the time, I don't even know if Sting had acted at all prior. No, he did. Movie.
He did.
He had
was
a couple of
Quadrophenia. He played the ace face. Yeah.
Interestingly, it was because of Quadrophenia that comic book writer and legend Alan Moore decided to create the character John Constantine in his image.
Yes.
That's based on Quadrophenia. Yeah.
No kidding.
So I think that's probably the reason why they went with Sting and not Billy Idol. But Tom is right. They were looking for a Sting Billy Idol type for it. And Sting had acting credentials, and he must have blown them away in the audition because he got it.
Real quick, I want to say hello to a couple people, guys. Judah Khan, hail Latino slant, new to your channel, but very much enjoying the conversation. Hail Tom and Andre. Hey Judah,
welcome.
Hola. And of course, cynical Lindsay, Sting is a legend.
I know. How do you not have him on the soundtrack singing about sand and shit, though? I just don't get it.
And Odega Outlaw, hail Slantino, is just here long enough to drop a like. Hail Slantino, Odega Outlaw. And yeah, but not only that, Tom, you have Toto
doing the soundtrack, which is great. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Studio-wise, they're great. Yeah, they're the greatest studio band ever, probably, besides the Wrecking Crew. But
I love the soundtrack. Don't get me wrong, but how do you not have a pop soundtrack when you've got Toto, you've got Sting? I mean, that was one of the things I think that probably could have elevated the movie a little bit. It may have been a bit cheesy in retrospect if they'd have done it, but I mean, that's probably what would have helped sell this movie, was like a hit music video from Sting, and he could have done just about anything at that time. You're right, because he was riding high with the Police, and I think this was just before or just after he decided to go solo. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah,
when.
this was like maybe a year or less after Every Breath You Take. I mean, they were.
I was thinking, yeah.
Oh my God, they were huge. Yeah, I mean, I saw
'cause
him.
I think they said one of the actors didn't Brad Dourif say in that interview we did with him, Andre, that he got to hear Every Breath You Take before it was on the radio?
Yes, he did.
Oh my God,
he
really?
he got to hear
Wow.
it before it was released, because it was released when Dune was in the process of being filmed. So yeah, it was Every Breath You Take was then released.
Yeah, he said he got to hear it.
Before
Yeah.
the movie was released, but after he was cast.
So yeah,
He did a really good job, though.
Yeah.
Like, the confidence that he ended up portraying. But with that being said, I didn't understand what his character was supposed to be doing. He shows up at the beginning, and then near the end, there's this whole scene where they're standing around steam, like chanting, and then he comes out and like flexes.
Wait, I wanna pause. I pause exactly. Wait a minute. You got to interview Brad Dourif? Wow, that's awesome.
Actually, we were present with Brad Dourif. We didn't interview him per se, but we attended a watch party with a group of filmmakers that specialize in making documentaries. The 80s classic group, and this was. And they have like this community where every once in a while they have watch parties where they bring in actual filmmakers and people that worked on the movies that they have a watch party of. And for their watch party of Dune, they brought in Brad Dourif as the main guest of honor, whereas the secondary guest of honors were Tom and myself.
And needless to say, I piddled.
Yeah.
Not every day you get Chucky saying hi to you.
In fact, he was our main reason why we're starting the Deadwood watch party.
Because, fucking Deadwood's amazing.
Yeah, because of his performance in X-Files. When
Brad Dourif is probably one of the most undersung actors in ever.
Unsung.
There you go.
Unsung. Sorry, don't mean to correct you.
Please do. My English sucks, and Andre knows that.
One of the cool things is that when we then attended this watch party with Brad Dourif, one of the cool stories. Well, actually, we did get to interview him a little bit, because we did get to speak with him back and forth and ask him some questions too. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he told us was in terms of working with David Lynch and shaping the character.
Yeah.
Because even in the theatrical cut, the first time we see him, he has like this whole rhyme that like I set my mind in motion and the thoughts become speed and saffron juice. I don't recall it right now. He wrote that. That is something that he wrote, and he basically said that he went to Dune and said, hey, you know what? I feel that this is kind of like in character, it's going to fit with the rest. And Lynch was like, yeah.
Wow.
We shoot it and we put it in the movie. So that's how that happened. So that was Brad Dourif's contribution, and honestly, of all the excellent characters in the movie, he's one of the best ones. You ask me.
We're here with Andre and Tom of Midnight's Edge Yeticast. I'm with royalty, man. I feel with these guys. No, really, man. Thank you guys so much. This is a lot of fun, man. This is a lot of fun.
Well, and Brad also told us a really fun story about Jurgen and Lynch.
Well, I was just going to say to everyone in the chat, please make sure you're subscribed to everyone's channels, because there's a funny thing going on where you think you're subscribed and you're actually not. So double check, guys.
One of our mods got unsubscribed the other day.
Yeah, that's right. Go on, Tom.
But yeah, no, I don't know if Andre wants to tell this story or not, but Brad actually told the story in another interview, and then he reiterated it for us, where Lynch was insistent on the way the gas would come out of Jürgen Prochnow mouth when he did the whole gas pill scene.
Yeah.
To the point where he had him convinced of putting a hole in his fucking cheek.
Whoa.
Oh,
Like he had him convinced that he was going to put a hole in his cheek and it would heal up just fine. He would put a hose in the hole and it would shoot out the gas, and Jurgen was down. And the producers are like, no.
Wow.
Brad's like, I wouldn't fucking do it.
Wow.
Yeah, it must be something with the Germans and drilling holes in their cheek, because I'm sure that many listening are familiar with the German group Rammstein. Like, I know especially they're huge in Mexico, and the singer there, he actually did that for their concepts. Like you have like you see like some concert clips where you have like light in his mouth. And the battery for that actually goes through his cheek, so he drilled a hole in it for that. So yeah, Germans go all in.
Needless to say, he did not drill the hole. They talked him out of it. So yeah.
Couple other great and
Kenneth
here's
McMillan,
that scene right there.
Yep, that's the
Yes,
scene right there.
that's the one.
That's the one. I mean, this character actor. I love this character actor.
Oh, he's amazing. Kenneth McMillan that's how you say his name. He's just he's amazing. He's been in a few different things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd show you. You see those photos I had put in the intro, where it had his fat suit, and then it had him all done up. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Speaking of pretty crazy, this is actually also a testament to the good thing about Dino De Laurentiis and the freedom that he would give his filmmakers on set, because you notice like how the Harkonnens, who this is the leader of, they're all really freaky. Their world is ugly and mechanical, and everything is weird and crazy and horrible. Like, if a filmmaker tried to do something like that today, the producers would slam the brakes on it and say, no, I don't think so. And especially not with this, because you see like all of the deformities and everything like that. And Yeti, this actually ties into what you said before about the scene with Sting in that steam room and everything. And you have the elder Harkonnen look at him with desire. Yeah, I do believe that's where it's from and everything. That's actually part of the movie's subtext. This is something that you couldn't get away with today, because subtext here is that the man on screen right now, the deceased one, he's gay. And you see like this, how he's like assaulting this young kid,
Right.
and how he's looking at his nephew with desire as he comes out of the steam room, at the same time as he has like this illness that just won't go away, that gives like blotches and everything in the face. And this movie was filmed in 1983. There was another disease that was going around in the gay communities in San Francisco and LA at the time. And that's kind of like what Lynch referenced here. Ain't no way that would fly today. No way at all. It would be shut down, and the mob would go crazy for it.
Well, and the violence on top of that.
Yeah, on top of that, but as Dino De Laurentiis, the producer, said at the time to his filmmaker, was okay. We didn't mind.
No, and I read about that, and I read about the kind of like now, like the retro backlash of kind of like the homophobic, sensibilities of this subplot, which
Now, was that part of the character in the book?
That he is. You mean the deceased?
Diseased and and gay.
He was gay the whole time. That was there in the first movie. All of this deceased
meant the
thing,
book.
that was in the movie. In the book. He was gay the whole time. The deceased thing, that was something that was added retroactively
Okay.
But not in the books that were released prior to the movies. There he was just gay
Okay.
and obese.
Just on a side
retroactively-
question, really quick.
Yeah.
Eric O'Sullivan asked, panel, please, wasn't part of Lynch taking the De Laurentiis deal was that he got 3 pictures and Dune led to Blue Velvet and then a rocket ship. What does that mean? I don't know what movie.
Well,
Twin
maybe
Peaks.
it was,
I know Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
De Laurentiis was uncredited for. Yeah. I mean, but he was the producer of it.
Yeah. Here's the thing that De Laurentiis, he would often do like this thing that you owe me a certain number of movies. Honestly, I don't recall top of my head what was the deal with David Lynch there and how many movies he ended up doing. Because here's the thing, that Dune actually bombed so catastrophically that the Laurentiis Corporation never really recovered from it. They eventually folded, and many of the movies that their actors were contracted to, and same with their directors, never ended up happening. And I don't recall, top of my head, how many other movies Lynch did. I'd have to check that. But yeah, it kind of blew up in their face, and that was entirely because Universal, or at least in my opinion, it was because of Universal saying the movie can be a maximum of 2 hours. And in so doing, they removed any kind of like sense from the movie, because then you kind of like have to have read the book to understand what was going on. And if you hadn't, it would be very confusing. And you'd probably be left like wondering what's so great about this book anyway. Like, this isn't so special.
Yeah, bringing it back to what Yeti was saying before, causing them in there, not just because of the cut down, but just because of the world being so vast, they actually handed out pamphlets at the film to explain things to people. I shit you not.
Wow.
So you had this movie that is embroiled in murder, homosexual disease, all this crap that's going on in this movie for kids. This was marketed for kids, folks.
No.
That's what I think it needs to be highlighted most of all, because this was Dino De Laurentiis and Universal's answer to Star Wars. This was going to be their Star Wars. It had toys, it had cards, it had
the Star Wars for adults.
Books.
Star Wars for adults. They said they wanted.
They said that, but there was toys and all this other shit.
But
So
there was toys.
Clearly trying to get the kids on board with this, and there was nothing really in this for kids. Let's be real.
Then they needed to make 2 or 3 movies in order to make that work, because I was so lost going through. I watched twice. I seriously did, and I kind of regret it right now because I still didn't learn anything the second time. Like, I can get kind of what they're going with, but the actual motivations for everyone, it just seemed lost in translation to me.
Yeah, because the big problem you have is none of the world is really explained. None of the gadgets, none of the roles are really explained. You have a lot of inner dialogue going on. Which is how Lynch was able to translate. Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, Andre, but my understanding is like the book is just full of these long, like inner dialogues, basically, or a lot of exposition to where he had to find a way to work it into the story.
That is exactly right. It's not that there was inner dialogue. It's that there was loads of exposition and kind of like this invisible narrator. So for like every like scene that was in the movie, it was very carefully narrated. So for the reader, it's very clear what's going on. But the actual story, as we see in this picture right here, it can be 2 people sitting right next to each other. And then there's like 10 pages of narration going through their exact thoughts.
I read the book,
backstory, and all of that. And then you kind of have like a challenge. Okay, now how the heck do we communicate this on screen? How do we, for instance, or one scene that's in the movie where you have like Paul, who is tied up next to his mother, that's also tied up, and they're both gagged, so they cannot talk or anything like that. Now then, how do you like then make it clear what they're thinking and the
Mhm.
communication between them and stuff. And what Lynch then came up with was okay. Well, we have their thoughts narrated out. We write them thoughts, and we narrate that because he couldn't think of any other way to do it.
I couldn't stand that part. I really couldn't stand that inner dialogue thing that they had going.
It
I felt
worked.
like
It worked with some characters. It just didn't work. They just did that with everyone. Anytime there was a pause, then someone's thought. And to me, and I remember that mostly in the book of Paul and his mom. You know, I remember that a lot. You know, but it's like I don't remember these other people talking. Really quick, that 70s fan, thank you so much for the $5, man. I really appreciate it. Eso grito es para ti. That 70s rock fan says, what a great time to be alive and a Slantino, Paulie, plus Yeti, plus the mighty Midnight's Edge. Great stream, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very cool. Well, we're having a good time here, guys. We're here with the great Andre and Tom, Midnight's Edge, and Yeticast. Let's continue our conversation.
I think this is a good time to address one of the main themes here between the two films.
Okay.
Fuzzy eyebrows.
Besides fuzzy eyebrows. They do have those in common. That is very true. There are a lot of similarities. And one of them being just this big expectation attached to it, because Dune, of course, at the time was this huge sci-fi novel. Like, it was very well regarded, and there was a lot of people who were anticipating this film. And in a lot of ways, I would probably compare it to how when Lord of the Rings came out. Like, I'm sure there was a lot of people who were like, this is going to be it. This is what I've been waiting for. And if you're a fan of this and you went into this, I'm sure you were extremely disappointed.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
If there was the internet back then.
On this one for sure. Big expectations on this one for sure. And then, this is just a cool image right here.
And not only that, the other similarity would be you have the studio meddling with the film, basically. Now, the studio didn't mess with this movie until after, right? Like, that needs to be clear. De Laurentiis and Raphael, his daughter, basically, like Andre said, let Lynch do whatever he wanted to do on the set. It wasn't until they got into the editing room where the trouble really started. And I believe part of that was because they just neglected to tell him that Universal had mandated the movie had to be 2 hours long.
Oops.
Yeah. And when it came to Masters of the Universe, though, it was kind of the studio basically, oh boy, we're going to get into that. And that thing is, it's one of those movies that I think they'll study years from now in some kind of criminal class.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, there's another connection between the movies as well.
There's quite a few, yeah.
Very, very indirect one. And it's actually not with this iteration of Dune. But if you go back 2 more iterations, then you had the French artist Moebius, aka Jean Giraud, who did the designs for Jodorowsky. Moebius also did the initial designs for Masters of the Universe. Then, of course, they were heavily reworked before they actually ended up on screen. But the redesigns started out from Moebius. So there's a connection.
You know what I think my favorite part of this whole discussion is? You guys are giving these very articulate explanation of the history and the characters, the book, the backstory. And I'm like, hey, look at fuzzy eyebrows.
Right. Nice, Yeti, guys. We need to know when to be quiet, Yeti.
Yeah.
let the masters go.
Gwildor had some pretty wacky eyebrows. But speaking of, like, here's one of the matte paintings here that I thought was just gorgeous, and there's another one that's even better than this, where it shows the daytime. It's a daytime one, and you see the whole, like, it's a wide shot. I don't know if they got it here, but it's just
got a lot of good, damn surprising,
beautiful matte paintings I've ever seen in a film. And again, like this movie has so many things going for it. It's just a shame that it didn't, become much bigger and better than it was. I mean, the cast is just amazing. We were just talking about that earlier. I mean, you got Max von Sydow, you see there. Linda Hunt's got a small scene in it, a small bit part in it.
Her part was really
yeah.
The family was great. I mean, just awesome, that family.
Yeah.
What was the thing with the puppies, Andre? I never understood that with the damn pugs.
I can tell you, the pugs were always a royal dog.
That's what I figured.
For instance,
okay.
in the Spanish court, if you go back to the Spanish court in like the 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, the dogs that the royalty would have in Spain, mainland Spain, were often pugs. So it's a dog that signalizes royalty. Not so much anymore nowadays. Like, for instance, the Queen of England to this day uses corgis, but in the court of Spain, it was pugs.
Yeah, I kind of figured it was something like that. That's cool. Yeah. But no, like the movie itself, though, is a complete and utter mess. I mean, I suppose we should really start talking about the movie itself.
Well, these guys are the, was it the Harkonnens in the world?
Harkonnens, yeah. Harkonnens, yeah.
That all reminded me of like Matrix. You
mean the designs? Yeah, there you see how ahead of its time it were. And as Tom says, look at this gorgeous painting. I mean, look at the smoke there. I mean, it almost looks as though it's moving already. How amazing is that? So, like, the movie gets a really bum rap for its special effects, and also this Giger-inspired industrial hellhole, which is like. It's like it's Fritz Lang's Metropolis on drugs. So, like, this is
and the fact that it's a whole planet like that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're watching it now, I mean, a kid looking at it, especially when you get to the Harkonnen stuff, see how everything's green. I mean, you might at first get kind of set back, like, wait, they didn't finish the special effects. It kind of feels like that in some scenes because you got these green backgrounds everywhere, and you're like, well, wait. Yeah. And then when you realize and you see the world, like this is just there. Yeah, I mean it does. It opens up, and if the movie itself is a complete disaster. It's edited horribly. The screenplay, like Roger Ebert said, was a mess, and I'm assuming he's saying that because he's read the book. That's what I was saying. Like, so I'm sure he understands. You could tell his disappointment in his review. And I'm assuming the same thing with Gene Siskel, because like I said, they rarely agreed on the best and worst films of the year. And in this case was one of the few times they did. And I can see why. This was probably one of the more anticipated films of that year, in a year full of great, big, huge movies. I mean, that's the thing. 84 was chock full of just tons and tons of movies. I mean, I'll even argue that 84 might be the biggest year for movies ever. Because you had everything from Ghostbusters, Gremlins, Beverly Hills Cop, Back to the Future was 85. Sorry, I was about to say that. But like Terminator, and these are just some of the bigger ones. There's a bunch of other ones that weren't even huge big ones, but we're still.
Repo Man.
Yeah, you had stuff like Repo Man, Nightmare on Elm Street, and all kinds of other stuff that your Karate Kid. I mean, and that was also a hit.
It's a big year. You're right.
It was a very big year for movies. And this movie just kind of came out in the middle of all that. Now, if this movie would come out in 83, it probably would have done better.
Probably, because
the only thing it would have had to compete with would have been Return of the Jedi, really, because 83 didn't have a shit ton of big movies. So, like, if it would have come, and I don't know when they originally planned on releasing it,
when did Temple of Doom come out?
84. That was another one.
Also 84.
Yep.
Wow.
It was all 84.
That's amazing.
Biggest, like, most crowded year for movies ever.
Yeah.
But also, just to highlight one or to comment on something that I see many mentioned in the chat. The designs that we see from the Harkonnens right now, they are inspired by Giger. But Giger did not actually design what you see in this movie right here.
Right.
Giger, he was one of the spiritual warriors that Jodorowsky hired for his design of the movie.
And so if you inspiration from it.
Yeah, exactly. So that if you go and you look at Giger's work and you just, for instance, you search for Giger and Dune, then you will see the incredible artwork that he actually did design for Dune.
Let's do that.
But he did not design anything in this movie. I don't recall who did, but whoever did, they were inspired by
Yeah.
Dune. Yeah, there you go. If you
Wow.
just see there, the top of the two first ones there. That one, yeah. What that's the castle of the Harkonnens. If you zoom out, go to the one, the second one from top.
Right here?
Left. No. One left. Okay, down. Second row. One down.
Right
Left. That one, yeah. See that there?
Mhm.
That is the Castle Harkonnen, and it's made in the image of the Baron Harkonnen. You know, like the fat guy with the blotchy skin. That's made in his image. And if you now move a little bit closer.
And then didn't they use basically that one with the baby face there, though?
Yes,
That
they
one kind
did.
of in the
That's
movie?
what I mean. Yeah, part of it is, and that's the inspiration, because they actually put his face on it. So what you have there, that kind of like looks like the Technodrome, that's like his face, and it's like this train that comes out.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
you
yeah.
see
Look at
there,
that.
this train that comes out. And when the train leaves, then the skull remains, which is the other image that you
Well,
see
they're saying
there.
inside the greatest sci-fi film never made. That's a Hot of Us. Is that what
Yes.
you're talking about?
Yes, that's the one. And
Great
also there you
documentary,
also see Giger's attempt at a sandworm a little bit closer down, right next
here.
to the pit. Yeah,
Right there.
that's
And
Giger's
they definitely
sandworm.
used his inspiration for that as well, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I mean,
like,
this also feels very alien to me.
yes, well,
That's Giger.
Geiger, or Giger, however you pronounce it, yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
But the picture you had up there with the big like scaffolding or whatever you want to call it, I mean, that was way before these. Like,
Yeah. Back to the movie shots from
back to the movie shot. Like, look at that shot and look at how much it inspired the Borg cube. Come on, like that's the thing that Dune did do, was inspire so much afterwards. I mean, the Batman outfit is almost exactly inspired by the whatchamacallit outfits they wear in the desert. Help me out here, Andre.
Say it one more time.
The Batman suit was designed basically like the
Yes, it
Free
was
Men-
the Fremen suit. The
Fremen suit. Thank you.
The still suit. Because
Still
it was that initial design was further developed into the Batman suit, because it was like the same production designer on those.
Yeah, so I mean, and not just that, but like I said, you can tell like all like the production design, the actors, everything was great. The story and the editing were the problem. And there was that one stupid effects shot with the ships.
Bad editing job.
A very
Just
horrible
terrible.
editing job.
Worst
Oh my God.
editing job. I was like, you know what? It would be fun to hook you up with one of the great fan edits, just to see what you think by comparing that to the theatrical version.
Yeah.
Because I submit that the theatrical version is a movie that you lose friends with.
Absolutely.
But the best of the fan edits will actually gain you a friend or two.
Even the extended version's better than this, even though it cuts a couple scenes out.
Yeah.
Because again, I reiterate, it's the television version, so they cut out the scene with the heart plug, and there's like one other scene I think that's cut out. That's a little
also on
racy.
that note, this is actually really important too. On the extended TV cuts, I was about to say it before, but I got distracted because that movie, David Lynch disowned it. So he wanted his name removed off it, because even though it's longer, it doesn't represent his vision, because it has more scenes, but those scenes, they're in the wrong sequence. They're not completed. So for instance, the Fremens who have like these glowing blue eyes in the new extended scenes, their eyes are normal, because at the time it cost too much money that they weren't willing to spend. So you have like that visual inconsistency. So for all of those reasons, and also they added a new intro sequence to it. Remember how Tom said that in theaters you got like this little pamphlet explaining the background and the stories? Well, what they did for the new intro, they removed Virginia Madsen saying that, no, it's the year 10,000 something. They cut that away, and instead they put a new animated prologue. And that animated prologue was basically the same pamphlet that they gave viewers with concept art. They just filmed that pamphlet and had a guy narrate it, and then they started the movie. And David Lynch, he thought that this was, if anything, even worse than the theatrical cut. So he demanded his name removed off it. And it was then replaced with Alan Smithy. And in response for him doing that, then the studio made it so that the writer of the movie, which was still David Lynch, they called him Judas Booth. So yeah, not the greatest relationship there.
Yeah. Wow.
Damn. But
Wow.
I mean, you have to give it a little bit of credit that they managed to do all this while Oceania was at war with Eurasia. No 1984 fans here.
Hey, you know, not every joke can fly. It's all good, bro. It's all good. Keep reaching.
I'm muted, working on a video in the background at the same time. So.
I was trying to work in something with Winston, but none of it came up.
It's all good, bro. It's all good.
I have to rewatch 1984 one of these days.
So we're all in agreement here that the theatrical edition is one we would lose friends by if we recommended it to friends.
Yes, I would say so.
Now here's that pamphlet, terminology really quick. So I guess it was just basically a glossary. No.
There was more to it than that, but yeah, that was the terminology. There was like several pages. Like you went through like who are the different families and houses and roles and everything like that, plus a glossary. So yeah, you had your writing cut out for you that you were expected to follow the movie. So yeah, good going on that.
So well, apparently Yeti did get some love in the chat.
Thank you, chat. Thank you.
You know, that's
They've
good.
got my back.
There you go. And we're just before we transition, we want to thank you guys for hanging out with us and the great Andre and Tom of Midnight's Edge. Wow, that was a nice. I think the payoff for rewatching Dune was this conversation, because I did not enjoy rewatching Dune this week.
No.
No, I mean, it's a hard watch.
The theatrical cut is rough.
Yes,
the theatrical cut. So Cynical Lindsay's asking, so the director's cut then?
No,
there is no real director's cut. Actually, that's the irony.
We were saying that.
Yeah. What I will say is that there is a cut of the movie that I would highly recommend. And this is a fan edit. And when you hear that name, then you, of course, many will think, it's just something that fans threw together. It's going to be horrible. Actually, no. Many fan editors are, in fact, professional editors working within the film industry that take on other things purely out of passion. And I do not know if Spice Diver is one of those, but if not be, he should be. And also, it's not unheard of. Like, for instance, Brian De Palma's... Tom, what was it called again? It was a Brian De Palma movie.
Body Double? Or which other one?
Which one?
Give me what it's about. I can't...
Yeah. It's with John Lithgow.
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow. Dressed to Kill.
Dressed to Kill?
Dressed to Kill.
No, I don't think it was that one.
He was a cross-dresser killer.
Yeah, but I think it's... Changing Kane.
Raising
Kane.
Yeah.
Raising Kane.
Erasing Kane. Yeah, that's the one.
I was going to say that was one of his later ones, but yeah.
Brazil.
Erasing,
Blowout. No, Blowout was Troll Travolta.
Yeah, Erasing Kane.
Oh wait, Lithgow was in that too.
Yeah.
Lithgow was in both. Wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. But anyway, the point then is that
that's Michael Caine.
De Palma,
sorry about that.
De Palma wasn't entirely happy with Erasing Kane. He never was quite happy with how it turned out. And then one day a fan edit was recommended to him from one of the fan edit forums, because it was like elected the movie of the month or fan edit of the month or something. So he decided to check out a fan edit of a movie that he himself had made. And he was blown away, because in that fan edit, the editor, who was just a fan, was able to bring out what he had never been able to do in his own version of the movie. So he went straight to the core of the story, lost everything superfluous. So what happened was that Brian De Palma had some of his people contact this fan editor and saw to it that it would be redone and re-released as the director's cut. So the director's cut of Brian De Palma's Erasing Kane is in reality a fan edit.
Wow.
And
That's amazing.
the background for that is just I'm saying that some fan editors, not everyone, but some, are able to go right to the core of the story and do nips, tucks, and reassemblies in a way that emphasizes the core story in a way that was never done before. This was also done with David Lynch's Dune. There are multiple fan edits, but one stands leaps and boves above everyone else, and that one is called Dune, the Alternative Edition Redux by Spice Diver. You can easily find it on various torrenting sites. You kind of have to go to the high seas, but like if you own the original copy, then it's kind of like, okay, as long as you pay the studio your money, then it's kind of like, okay, use a VPN or something. But if you watch that movie, if you first watch the theatrical cut and then you watch the fan edit, the alternative edition Redux, I assure you, you will be blown away, even in the first few minutes, because they're practically two different movies. Tom, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, even the extended edition's better, but then that's the thing. The beauty of it is nowadays a lot of the effects that they needed to finish whatever needed to be done are so easily done on computers that the fan edit looks really good. So like, because the main thing is just getting the eyes right and stuff like that, which is so easy now compared to even then. And they've tried to get Lynch to come back to do a re-edit, but he doesn't want anything to do with it.
he says he won't even talk about it, right?
No, he don't want to talk about
He's
it.
completely over it.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
He's moved on.
Yeah, and I would even say that I think that Universal, since they own the movie, I really think that they should do another erasing Kane there. Just find that fan edit, redo it in high definition, and simply call it the final cut or something like that. That was done to Universal.
Yeah,
don't call it director's cut, but like final cut or something.
Yeah.
Because I brought up the fact that it's rumored to be coming out in 4K this year. And if that's the case, and if they went back to the original negative, I would hope they went and scanned everything. And they can do an extended cut. That'd be great. Because it'd be so cheap to do. It's not even remote. Like, we're not even talking something like the Justice League here. We're talking like so easy, minimal shit that you can do on a computer now. So
it was actually done on a computer, because like this fan edit, the only problem with it is that it's taken from the extended DVD. Because basically it has all of the scenes of the extended version plus some extra deleted scenes. So almost all the footage that was filmed is there. It's just restructured. Some of the internal narration, like the thoughts and everything, like some of that is removed from it.
Thank you.
And
I felt that should have just been for the main characters, you know.
Now, this is one of those rare instances, though, where, you know, slimming a movie down, trimming stuff out really hurt it, because you do need. It is so epic. It is so big. You have so many moving parts that you need all this extra stuff. And yeah, Sander, we brought that up earlier too. The extended version is the TV cut, so they do cut out the couple of graphic scenes. But I mean, again, all those versions are still better than the theatrical version. You'll definitely lose a lot of friends watching that. But we've already talked about Dune for an hour. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to touch on it before we moved on to the next film. Because this was another film that was highly anticipated by a lot of people as well.
Yeah. Why don't we move on? That's a fantastic idea. You know, I'm happy enough, Yeticast, with now moving on and saying this was a great stream, but you know, because I'm like, I didn't like this movie at all coming up.
Well, that's kind of what the name is here.
I know. Masters of the Universe, starring Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella, who I did love in this movie, actually. Did love. And Courtney Cox, a very young Courtney Cox. And I have to say, that was her debut.
Yep, she had only been in the
Springsteen?
Springsteen video, I think, to this point. That's what got her the job, if I remember right.
Yeah. Quite the door opener.
Well, it opened a lot of doors, Andre, and I closed
Oh.
them all really quick.
Where to begin with this? As I stated in the intro, this is one of those movies that in years from now they'll teach in film school about.
Whoa, really?
Yes, this movie. Let's just put it this way: it was probably the most blatant money laundering, thievery, insert what have you shenanigans ever done in Hollywood, outside of Hollywood, whatever, to get a movie on screen.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. To do the short version, I don't know if I can do this justice, but Mattel, of course, was riding high in the mid 80s on Masters of the Universe, being the biggest toy brand out there.
Okay.
I think it even had toppled down Barbie by that point, if I'm not mistaken, right, Andre?
It was the biggest by far.
Yeah.
They were on top of the world. They seemed completely undefeatable. Like nothing had happened like that in the toy industry.
Yeah.
They were in the biggest wave of success in the history of toys.
Even more than the Kenner Star Wars toys.
Even more than the Kenner Star Wars toys.
All right.
Yeah, early through
Mattel was
1980.
Hot Wheels, right?
Originally, yeah, they also had Hot Wheels and they had Barbie and they had He-Man. And He-Man at that point, like he just said, from 82 to 86 was the number one toy in America. And maybe even the world. I don't know about the world, but definitely
the world.
Probably the world. And the TV show as well was huge. By this point, it had already... Here's the problem, though. The movie took way too long to get off the ground. So by the time the movie got off the ground, the show had already killed its momentum by switching to She-Ra. And the toy brand had pretty much been destroyed by that. Like, that was the worst. Granted, as much as the fan base loves She-Ra, even back then, they went woke and got broke.
Really?
Yeah, that's really what happened. They're like, we've got the biggest boys toy brand in the world. So what do we do with it? Let's make it for girls.
Tom is not right, and you will have like some kind of like controversy, and some people say no, it's run its course. No, it was because of She-Ra.
It was because of
they it's as simple as that. However good She-Ra maybe, I like She-Ra, that's all fine, but the fact of the matter is that they cancelled Season 3 of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and they made She-Ra instead with some guest appearances of He-Man, and in so doing, they didn't fully get the girls on board. Maybe they got some more, but the girls that were gonna be on board were on board anyway. At the same time as they lost most of the boy audience, because now their He-Man series was suddenly starring a Barbie.
Yeah, like as I was saying, like they totally killed it with She-Ra. So like in the interium of this, the movie deal got made with the Golden Globus group. Now, the oh my God. Where to begin with these guys? If there was ever a pyramid scheme that I don't know what you'd want to put to this, Andre. There's so many crimes that were committed by this company that gave us so many cheesy goodness out of it. Like it's oh my gosh.
Well, here's the thing with Canon, which is like the Golden Globus group. They were very non-woke. They knew what they wanted. What they wanted was to basically do like cheesy, crappy movies and everything like that. And they were very, very good at taking other people's money, promising that we can do the movie for this amount of money. And then when they had spent that amount of money, then they would consistently go and say, we need more money to finish the movie now. And of course you can go and say that, but we had a deal. We paid you the money you said, and you put up the rest. Yeah, well, tough luck. We don't have the money. It's gone. Give us more.
Like the South
or
Park
there's no
episode where
movie.
like you invest $100 and it's gone. That's the Golden Globe screw. Like, okay, so basically, like I was saying, getting back to the story. So the deal was made. They wanted to make a movie. Mattel had all this kind of power over it. They were going to put up half the money. Then Golden Globus was supposed to put up the other half. And it was supposed to be kid-friendly. He-Man wasn't supposed to hit anybody, wasn't supposed to kill anybody, wasn't supposed to use his sword on anybody. All these rules were attached to it, just like the cartoon.
Right.
And so at first, everything was like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Well, they went and took that money and spent it because they went and put it into a couple other productions that never happened. One of which most famously being Spider-Man. And then they took some of the money from Superman and did the same thing with these guys were fucking shysters and a half, but they gave us some of the greatest movies of the 80s. So.
Also, let's not deny it. Loads of money was spent in various administrative expensive.
Yeah,
that's being code for blow and hookers.
I was just going to say that's cocaine and hooker.
That's what I was going to say too, but I didn't.
I mean, it wasn't. Joke. Yeah, it wasn't spent on the film.
No. So what they did was they spent all the money, they put it in and funneled it into other places, and then like Andre said, so then like Mattel's like, "Where's our movie?" And like, "Well, we spent all the money," and they're like, "Well, you said you were gonna put up the other half. Well, tough shit." So then at this point, then She-Ra had come out, and it had kind of killed the toys, and they also didn't have a toy for the '86 season. All they had was Buzz Off. For the He-Man side of things. So everything was a fucking mess. And so Mattel's like, here's the rest of the money. Just get the movie out there. We need the movie. Because they needed the movie to reinvigorate the toy brand.
Yeah. Because here's like the thing.
They're like, do whatever the fuck you do. Yeah. Just do it. Make it. Get it done. Yeah.
Because this cannot be overstated enough. That when they first started, He-Man was $1 billion brand, like literally $1 billion brand. They owed so much money. But then by the time the movie was half done and Canon said that, now we spent all the money, give us more. By that time, He-Man was no longer $1 billion brand. It was $1-digit million brand.
Because they killed it with She-Ra, yeah.
They killed it completely, and like their revenue plummeted. It completely plummeted. Like it cannot be described in words. Like they were in shock and horror.
Yeah.
And
so all the
and that's also the moment when the instruction went from He-Man. He has to be so kind. He cannot hit. He has to follow all of these things. That was before. Then it went to fine. Here's finished up the movie. Have him kill. Have him rape. Have him do whatever you want.
Whatever the hell it takes to get the movie out.
Money.
You guys want? Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Yeti.
These are some great picks. I've never seen some of these.
Well,
this is IMDb. Oh yeah,
somebody's updated it.
Do you want to hear something very controversial?
Absolutely.
It better be.
I like this movie better than Dune.
I do too, and we'll get to that.
Oh yeah, no.
We'll get to that. But
for the same reason, yeah.
But again, these movies have so much in common as far as totally not doing any justice whatsoever to the source material. Now, and that's just a testament to how great of an idea He-Man is, that regardless of what Andre is going to say about the film, this movie, if you take the idea of way that it's supposed to be Masters of the Universe, is still a fun sword and sorcery, like kind of movie out of fish out of water when you get to the modern day kind of stuff, or the Earth stuff, I should say, not modern day, that kind of a thing. But no, as far as a Masters of the Universe movie, it completely fails on every fucking level, just like Dune did in being a Dune film. Because it's not in any way, shape, or form a Masters of the Universe movie outside of the name and very few surface level like things. Because they got rid of Adam because why? That was going to cost too much money to have him transform. They got rid of Orko and replaced him with Gwildor. Why? Because it was going to cost way too goddamn much to have Orko floating around on screen. Now, here's one of the things that actually turned out good. They went through several plans on this. And this is the most inspired casting of the film right here. You got Frank Langella giving an Oscar-worthy fucking ham performance, Skeletor.
He was wonderful.
if there was a way to give like retroactive Oscars to performances in bad movies that were so that didn't the movies that didn't deserve the performance, this is the top of the list right here. This is, if they could subplant Frank Langella's Skeletor into a new movie, I'd be like, all right.
Yeah,
I think we need to set up that award.
He fucking nailed it.
And
I think,
not just him, also Meg Foster as Evil Lynn.
Yeah,
Let
she
us
didn't
not
get any.
forget
Oh,
Meg
talk
Foster.
about
She
one of the
was
characters
so
that got the
good.
biggest shaft in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, Evil Lynn got so shafted because she is so important to the story. I mean, not just this version, but all iterations. And again, like, I hope they really foster her character more so in the newer films, but I'm not holding out hope with Goyer. But yeah. But no, like, this cast is great, just like Dune. You have a great fucking cast. Even Gwildor is great, even though he's not Orko. And this kid who won the award, that's where a lot of these pictures are. He's the kid in the little warthog outfit. He won the contest through Mattel to be in the movie. He's
no way.
in the damn thing. Yeah. That's what
I was like, why they have this kid here?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what this is from. So Mattel ran a contest to be in the movie. And that's what he got, to be on the set for like a day. And he was in the little warthog costume.
Yeah, Pig Boy. What's the character?
Pig Boy, that's
I have to say the most disappointing part of this. Well, anyways, the most disappointing part of this film is that they came to Earth. I didn't like that.
Well, there's where the
Nobody
problem
likes that.
comes in.
It took me out.
Now, I don't know how familiar people are with the movie Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. And one of the most famous stories about that movie is it should have been called Jason Takes a Boat to Manhattan, because he's on the boat more than he is in Manhattan. And the reason was because the studio kept cutting the budget, saying, we can't afford this. So they kept cutting down how much Jason was in Manhattan. So you had the same thing here. They kept saying, we ain't got the money for this. So they kept cutting out more and more Eternia and adding more Earth.
You barely saw Eternia.
So, like, if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, Andre, but the original script, they're only on Earth for like the last third of the film.
I think so. I'm
Yeah,
not entirely sure.
Yeah, and so like they basically flip-flopped it so where they're only on Eternia for about a third of the film, if that. And again, so they wasted this entirely gorgeous fucking set. They built this like 2 or 3 tier set for Grayskull. It's just beautiful. And it's wasted in the film because they only use it in like 3 or 4 shots. And that was where they were supposed to film the grand finale, but it got tore down before they were able to use it. And so the final shots of the film are shot on a fucking sound stage with just like minimal people. Like, this movie barely got to theaters. Like, it almost never got finished. It was a mess.
I think I might go back to Dune now.
But no, the movie overall, like I said, if you take away the Masters of the Universe aspect of it, an ABC plot, it has all that. It's a watchable film. I enjoyed it as a kid. I mean, as a kid, I kind of understood. As a kid, I kind of understood. I mean, I didn't fault the film for not having Orko and a lot of the other characters and Prince Adam and all that kind of stuff. I got it. To me, I just kind of saw it as like, oh, this is the toy version. Because I remembered the original comics and stuff that came with the toys. And they were different from the cartoon. And I had other storybooks and stuff. And Prince Adam didn't exist in a lot of those versions. And neither did Orko. So I was like, okay, so this is just more like along that kind of a line. So I just kind of accepted it in that way. So I never hated this film. I know it's very widely hated. And I know Andre just fucking hates the hell out of it. So go ahead.
Yeah, here's like the thing that I didn't see it when it was new. I wasn't even aware of its existence until I was browsing the VHS rental store in 1983, and suddenly from a distance I saw the poster that you had on screen right there, the previous one, on a VHS cover. And like I saw it in that one, I saw that VHS cover from a distance, and I knew exactly what it had to be, but I couldn't believe it. It was like, it's He-Man. I grew up on He-Man. There exists a He-Man movie. How has no one told me this? Why has this been kept from me?
For your protection.
It must have been, because then when I eventually rented it and I saw the movie, I kind of like dubbed the event to myself as the great disappointment, because I was so hyped. Like, this is gonna be the best movie ever. Like, I can't. In my mind, I thought it was gonna be like the animated series. I thought it was gonna be like the Filmation cartoon. I was so looking forward to seeing the transformation sequence and all of that. I was like, puzzled. Where's Orko? Who's that little furry guy? Where's Orko? I want my Orko. They better not have taken away Orko and Battle Cat. And then within like for the first 5 minutes, I was like, well, this is off. This doesn't look like Eternia. And then within the first 15 minutes when they were on Earth, I was like, what the hell is this? And I was almost crying because I was so disappointed, because I loved like He-Man so much, and this was so far from what I knew He-Man as. And yeah, Tom, he had obviously read the mini comics which was from when He-Man was still Conan, and make no mistake about it, this is a Conan ripoff. And even Skeletor, even Skeletor is a ripoff of the original version of Thulsa Doom. And of course, Mattel will never admit this because they were sued and they just barely got away with it in court. But the origins behind He-Man was actually the Conan the Barbarian movie. What happened there was that the production company contracted a Conan toy line with Mattel. With Mattel, is it Mattel, Tom?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think. Well, anyway, it had contracted.
That's why they got sued.
Yeah, exactly. Contracted with them, and they gave them all of their resources, the script that they had, all of the Conan artwork, and at this time, this was just as John Milius was coming aboard. The vision or the villain was still Thulsa Doom. But it was before Thulsa Doom was rewritten into. Really, it's a fantastic painting.
That's true.
So it was the original Thulsa Doom before he had been rewritten into James Earl Jones, and the original Thulsa Doom looks exactly like Skeletor in this movie. Big man with a black cape and a skull face. He looks like death. That's what Thulsa Doom looked like. Of course, it didn't look like that in the movie, but it did look like that in the original designs that Mattel used to develop their toy casts and everything. So He-Man really is Conan.
Well, there's a little more to that.
Thulsa Doom. Of course, there's more to it.
The quick version of that, though, is of course Star Wars came out, and that was the biggest toy line for Kenner, and at the biggest toy line ever. So Mattel saw that, and then they saw that Conan was going to be R-rated. At least this is the excuse they use. So they went back to Universal and said, sorry, we can't do this because it's going to be R-rated. Well, then they turn around and they basically combined Conan with Star Wars, and hence Masters of the Universe was born.
And you even see like in the original mini comics that follow there, when He-Man is first introduced there, what he is, he's a barbarian that
he has the
wanders
same
away from his tribe.
Just basically like the same origin as Conan, basically. Yeah.
But like all the cool things I wanted to know about these guys, like I found nothing out because they had to go to Earth and.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about the actual movie.
Let's talk about the actual story real quick.
Yeah,
you can break it down real quick.
Well, the basic story is so simplistic. You're introduced real quickly to Eternia, and right away in the beginning of the film, Skeletor takes over Castle Grayskull. Which, again, like I said, it really kind of attached me more to the toy because that was kind of the whole point of the toys, was you had Castle Grayskull and the two swords. And then that was the whole plot, was Skeletor was trying to get his hands on the other power sword so he could get into Castle Grayskull and get its secrets and hence be the master of the universe. So that's kind of where I'm like, okay, so I get that's where they got a lot of this plot from, it felt like to me. And that's kind of where it starts out. Like, he gets the castle and boom, like, oh shit, the bad guy's lost. The sorceress is entrapped, and He-Man gets away using a key, a cosmic key that's built by a Orko-like creature named Gwildor. And they end up in Earth, but they lose the key. So part of the film is spent for them trying to find the key. They run into these then the plot just gets bogged down in human characters. And again, if I saw this now, I'd probably be right on board with you guys. Like I told you,
that's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
so
totally
they,
understand. I don't begrudge anybody, hating this film. I don't go what? You're fucking insane. No, because I get it. This movie is, even as it's tedious to get through the Earth shit until the end. Because as soon as Frank Langella's off screen, it loses almost all charisma. Yeah, Billy Barty's good, and he can kind of carry it a bit. But Dolph Lundgren, bless him,
he looks the part. He
looks the part, but he's just not a leading man yet. Yeah. And yeah, same thing with the rest of the cast. Courtney Cox is fine. The other guy is fine. The chick,
the boyfriend. Yeah. Like, how can these guys figure out that it's not your regular musical instrument? And he takes it to a music store.
I know.
Yeah. There's some stupid moments in the movie. Like, don't get me wrong, it goes on these weird tangents that. It's trying, though. That's the thing. Like, you got to give it credit for trying, and it tries to give you an explanation for mostly anything and everything but the characters. Like you said, it does a really piss poor job of setting up the Eternian characters. I mean, Tila's great. The guy they got playing Man-at-Arms is great. I mean, the cast is great, but you're just stuck in this kind of like, well, who are these fucking people? If you don't know the characters,
the Earthlings the Earth people are so stupid, and then these people that come from Eternia couldn't even beat these guys. Look out! There's a late, and then you had the character actor from Back to the Future. Slacker, the ball.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't think of his name offhand, but yeah, he plays the cop. He's a great character actor, and just chews the scenery in the movie.
Chews it up, man.
Just chews it all up. But he's great in it.
You got that gun? Give me that gun. This is an invasion. This is an invasion.
What drove me nuts about this is, like you said, this is basically Star Wars with barbarians. Like, it sounds so cool when you put that together. Instead, they just go to Earth. Like, they couldn't think of a script around the Star Wars barbarian fighting portion. They go to the most boring thing.
I would love to get a hold of the original script, because as I said, they don't even go to Earth until the last portion of the script.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
that would make sense. Totally.
So we spent the first 2/3 of the movie in Eternia getting to know these characters. Yes. That's the part that got lopped off, basically. I'm sure that's what all the stuff leading up to Skeletor probably getting Grayskull was all the stuff in the beginning, and then they're just like, oh, we'll just get rid of all this, and we'll concentrate on this section here. It's like, because the main climax, the big climax, the cool shit is when Skeletor comes to Earth and he brings all his minions with him and shit.
Right.
And that's like,
that was kind of cool,
more exciting than all the climax, because you said, there's the fighting scene right there. Because once you get to that backlit fighting scene, the movie just is like, what the fuck am I watching?
No, that was awful. That was awful.
I have to say one thing that was like, I felt so bad and so sorry for Skeletor. I remember the first time that I saw it, because it struck me even then. Here comes Skeletor to Earth, the conquering hero, the ruler of Eternia, and he and his minions come and they parade through Dumpsville, U.S. in the middle of the night with USA, no one. Yeah, exactly. Dumpwater, USA, with no one watching them. They parade for everyone to see, and no one bothers.
No one's there.
See them.
No one's there.
You think
that's so sad?
The least they could have done has been like, okay, you're gonna bring He-Man. You got to put him in a city. So let's just have, we'll shoot it in Canada, and we'll pretend it's New York. You know what I mean? Like, just
wasn't even that.
They couldn't even do that. No, and there's Buzz-Off, the last character that got released basically in the Masters line.
Yeah. That was
the Horde. That would have been a beautiful shot there.
That would have been,
that looks so cool.
Because they had some really interesting artwork and everything like that. But in my opinion, the movie had the wrong director.
Oh yeah, the director. Let's not even on him. He's one of those motherfuckers who shouldn't even be working in Hollywood right now.
Well, he isn't. Is he?
Mm.
Okay, fine. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he's one of the people that Corey Feldman talked about, let's just say.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh,
He did
That's
his
fine.
time. He did his time, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't think that. I think that he was the wrong director for this movie, because again, just like Dune, I think that this had a lot of things going for it, but the wrong decisions were made, and the worst decision of all was taking the story to Earth. And there was no reason to do that, because if you look at the beginning of the movie, that it's like filmed in like the desert in California or something like that, but you could have done that with the rest of the movie, kept it on Eternia, and it would have been fine, because that's like the big complaint that people have. If it had just been on Eternia,
it needed a
never gone
Lynch.
to Earth.
It needed somebody who would have fought for the story. Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with Andre, because that's what Goddard was. He was a fucking yes man. Beyond his seediness, let's be real here. The guy's just a yes man. He did whatever the studio told him to. He finished the movie, don't get me wrong, but any real director would have fought from the start to say, like, this is fucking He-Man. And if you don't put He-Man in Eternia, then the kids are not, you needed somebody like a David Lynch who was going to fight for that, who would have come in and said, look, the kids are expecting this. If you don't give the kids what they expect, then you're ripping them off. And that's basically what Golden Globus did in the end. Cannon did, whatever you want to call them. Like, that's what they did, is they ripped people off in every which way, shape, and form. They ripped off the producers that made the movie through Mattel. They ripped off the audience. They probably ripped off the cast at some point. It's hard to say. Like, I'm sure everybody got ripped off along the way in the making of this film. And worst of all, the kids. Us as kids got ripped off the worst by this movie.
Yeah.
Again,
Even me that wasn't a kid, or I was still a kid, but I wasn't like that young a kid.
Yeah.
But still, I was so tremendously disappointed by it when I saw it. Like when I was like, I don't know, 11, something like that, 11, 12.
But yeah, real quick, I know you want
was
to
fantastic.
Wrap this up, but they did, they even added new characters. So Mattel had new toys to make, which they did, but they flopped.
I wonder why.
Do you have any of them?
I do actually have the new versions. I don't have them out, or I'd bring them out and show them, but I have the facsimile Dolph Lundgren He-Man. It doesn't look, because I don't think they got his likeness rights. I've got the Skeletor. I've got Super Skeletor.
Look at this one.
I got Gwildor, and I've got I got one of the other bad guys too. I can't remember which one, but they re-released them all again, and they did though. They had the Whiplash guy. They had the sword guy, and all those ones they did for Mattel toys back in the day. And they even did a Gwildor. Believe it or not, it's cheaper to get the original Gwildor than it is the new collectible. those are so plentiful that you can get an original Gwildor so much cheaper. It's kind of funny. But that Skeletor looks amazing, and the toy looks great. The newer one they did.
So I got two. Maybe it's one combined question for all you guys. Movie to lose friends by from the top of the panel to the bottom. Which one would you recommend to a friend you want to lose? I guess, right? That's how we do it. I always forget every week. But
which one do you want to keep friends with? Which one to lose friends with? I think.
Which one would you keep? Which one would you lose friends by? Here we go.
Which one would you rewatch?
Okay.
Yeah.
And which one would you show to a friend to lose them?
To lose them. All right, go ahead, Andre.
Which one I would keep of these two, or
basically,
which one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The one that I would show to lose friends with is Dune, because there actually is a better version in the fan edits. So if I want to lose someone, I'll still show them the theatrical version of it, which is still a dumpster fire. Whereas the one that I would keep is Masters of the Universe, because that is as good as it gets.
Yeah, I gotta go with that. I mean, Dune as the theatrical version, you guys kind of hit it on the head. It's unwatchable. Like, at least with Masters of the Universe, there's some cheesy goodness there. You can have some fun with it. As the standard goes, it's one of those movies you can sit around with your buddies, have some beer and a pizza, and joke around with it and have fun.
Yeah.
Especially if you were a He-Man fan as a kid. You can kind of goof on it and stuff like that. And it's a watchable movie. there is a movie there. It may not be Masters of the Universe, but it's fun.
It's something.
Better. It's better than a lot of the Conan ripoffs we got in that era. I mean, to me, it's up there at least with things like Beastmaster enough to where it's fun enough to watch and it's watchable. It's not horrible enough, and if anything, Frank Langella saves the movie. So I mean, if even if your friends don't like the movie, they're going to be like, "Yeah, but Frank was badass as Skeletor." I'll tell you that much. So you at least keep a friend that way, I think. So I'm going to go with Andre's choice.
Yeticast.
You know, I actually thought I was going to be the exact opposite as everyone. I thought everybody was going to pick this and say Dune was better, but I am with everyone here. I would rather rewatch Masters of the Universe because you can sit down with friends and you can joke about it. There's, just like Tom said, there's a bunch of cheesy bits, but Dune, man, I found it very boring and dry, and just everything is lost in translation. So I've got to pick the same thing as those guys. What about you?
Yeah. It's very close, but the theatrical release of Dune was. I remember it being a problem for me when I was 14, so that's that hasn't changed. And Masters I never saw when I was an older teenager. I was already 17, 18, so
A lot of your age group, yeah.
yeah. But seeing it now, it was like, oh, this is a kid's film. That's what I was thinking because I'd never seen it, and yet there was like some cool performances, and then there was just a lot of stuff to laugh at. So I'm with the panel now. Dune has been remade.
Yes, interestingly enough, speaking of inspiration, because this new Dune clearly takes some visual cues from the Lynch version, right, Andre?
It does indeed, and we were actually the very, very first to report on that. That it will be heavy visual inspiration because the new director Denis Villeneuve, he grounds his Dune in this movie, so that's like the visual inspiration. Although of course the script will be he's approached the script in a different way to like avoid the internal dialogue and stuff. So I think that's going to be a very good movie. Pacing is also going to be better because it will have a running time of between 2 and 3 hours, and it will only feature half the screen story that is covered here. So it's not going to have like any of the narrative issues that this one has. And early reviews have been very positive. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see when it comes out. On the new one, it's also fantastic casting, isn't it? I mean, it's like a veritable list of who's who in Hollywood. You have to say, like, both the casting in the David Lynch Dune movie it's amazing. It's like some of the best casting in 1984. Whereas for this movie, I also think it's among the best casting in 2021. Because again, it's like a who's who. You have Oscar Isaac, you have Jason Momoa, you have David Dastmalchian, who is the new Peter de Vries. You have, of course, Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron Harkonnen. I'm really excited for. And then, of course, you also have what's his name again? The guy who plays Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's basically the Beast
Dave
Raban.
Bautista,
Dave Bautista is there, so he's the Beast Raban, basically the brother of the character portrayed by Sting in the Lynch version.
Yeah, I have the list here. I mean, you're 100% correct. I mean, this cast is it's stacked. It's stacked. Javier Bardem as Stilgar.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin is Gurney Halleck. Jesus Christ.
Exactly. What a cast.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a big, huge cast in this.
And then the two leads of these young stars, Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, Timothée Chalamet.
And what's funny is What scares me about the new cast is like getting them back together is going to be a bitch.
What do you? How so?
Because look at, I mean, how many of them and how big they all are. I mean, it's going to be tough to get them back together for the sequel.
Well, I think they're contracted so as long
Well, they
as
are
the money is
contracted, but that
there.
doesn't mean that they still got to be able to line shit up.
It's a big chance that the sequel won't happen. I think.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
what I'm
might,
afraid of.
Yeah,
And they
so
only filmed enough for one movie.
Yeah, this was the stupidity. I don't understand.
I do understand it.
I do
in
to a
way.
point, but
I think I can explain why. Because here's like the thing that you don't get it so closely in the Lynch movie. But there's a time gap, like when Paul goes with the Fremen, and you see them
2 years.
doing like these sabotage reactions. There you have like 2 years that that flow past in like a 10-second time lag. That is where the new movie ends. And
Okay.
then there was actually going to be a couple of year time lag, and for actors, the age of Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya, certainly Chalamet, he can mature considerably in those 2 years. Like he is someone that is supposed to go from a snotty little brat in the first movie to a truly inspiring leader in the second movie. And just like those 2 extra years are gonna go really far way in doing that. You're also gonna see like how the characters change, like just to like emphasize time has gone by here. So you can of course argue that they should have done this back to back. That probably would have been the better course of action. But this way they get to try out if this really is going to work out. This was the intention before the world went off the rails. Plus, their young lead cast is going to age up considerably. Of course, now it's going to be even more than like 2 years between. Now it's going to be like 4 years between movies, more likely. With all the delays.
I like that
and
explanation, though.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I am. I think I just kissed. No, I thought it was off camera. I kissed Mrs. Slant.
oh, you devil, you!
I know. I was like, goodbye. She's off to.
Oh, you sweetie.
I
didn't get to hear you guys talk too much about these movies, so I was going to ask. Yeah, you guys' takes on them.
That being said about the timeline, about cutting it right there, I'm so excited then to see, and I hope that they really kind of dig deep, and maybe you guys know this and you can answer it, into the father-son relationship, because I think that's a beautiful father-son relationship, and the ultimate sacrifice that even though he's taken out, but he's there for Paul, and then to be played by Oscar Isaac. I mean, I'm just like super excited. I mean, just by that image alone. What are your thoughts, guys?
He's going to have a bigger role than Jürgen Prochnow had, but I don't think that too much attention will be focused on that. I think. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, the main cast, I'm more worried about for the young kid, Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya. Those two are probably going to have the biggest microscope over them, because the rest of the cast, everybody knows Brolin, everybody knows Oscar Isaac, everybody knows, Skarsgård, the rest of the main cast.
Okay.
I think the ones that are going to get the most scrutiny are going to be the two young kids. Yeah.
Really? I think they're great. So. I think they're really good actors.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying. I mean, hopefully they pull it off.
Right.
The one who's going to probably be under the most scrutiny is going to be Zendaya.
Really? I thought it would be him. Why would it be Zendaya? I mean, this is
because of the race swap business. That's what's got a lot of people up in arms, and I understand it from a point. But the way the script is, I trust enough people who have read it. We've gotten some early reactions from people who have seen the film, and it all seems positive to me. In that first trailer, even though I was kind of worried after seeing some of the pictures. That first trailer sold me. I really want to see it. And I mean, I'm not even that big of a Dune fan, so I think it looks amazing, and I hope it's everything we're hoping for out of it. And I mean, Denis Villeneuve, or how you say his name, I mean, he's a very, very visual director. I didn't love The Arrival, but it looked great. I liked Blade Runner 2049 and also thought it looked amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the two films that I have to go on. And yeah, after seeing Blade Runner, I think he can do this.
It's
I
so
think,
funny because
yeah,
I've seen Sicario and I
yeah, I
saw
haven't
was it
seen that one.
Prisoners. He did Prisoners, right?
I think so.
Yes,
Yeah, I haven't
he
seen any.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of his
Yeah.
other stuff. But
I've
yeah,
seen those two and I didn't see the other ones.
well, The
I love
Arrival's good
Prisoners.
until the end. The Arrival, a very beautiful film, like wonderfully shot, and
Yeah.
the visuals are great, and the atmosphere. That's what
Yeah.
I think he's going to nail here. Is this guy like Gareth Edwards is very good at capturing atmosphere and size and depth and scope and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he's probably a much better storyteller though than Gareth Edwards. Because I'm comparing Gareth Edwards, of course, who did Rogue One and Godzilla 2014. And of course, those effects in 2014's Godzilla look amazing, and he did a great job of showing the size of Godzilla. But what was the thing that everybody pissed everybody off was he'd cut away as soon as shit would get interesting. Yes. So, and I don't think we'll have that problem with Dennis. I think he's going to really allow us to relish in some of these visuals. And I think that he'll be the guy to kind of tell a story that needs room to breathe, and where the world is. See, look at this. I mean, where the world is part of the story. That's the thing. Like Middle Earth is so important to Lord of the Rings. These worlds and the cultures that are in them are so important to the story, and I'm sure Andre agrees with that. So,
Absolutely. The world is everything here. Or the worlds, rather, because it's a story that spans multiple worlds. I mean, Dune is something that takes place more than 20,000 years into our future. Many are like fooled by this because they listen to the opening, the narration, and here, let's do year 10,192 or something like that. Yeah, this is true, but the 0 point of that calendar that's used there is actually 10,000 years in our future. It's not the birth of Christ. It's the formation of the Spacing Guild. So it's actually 20,000 years into our future that it takes place. And all of those worlds are living worlds and part of the story.
Going into the chat, which we hadn't really done, yeah, we have a little bit, Yeti.
yeah, a little bit. Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel bad because Andre and I have kind of almost
No.
dominated, but
Don't feel bad, man. Don't feel bad. Listen, everyone is having a great time, right, chat? I'm having a great time. So is Yeti. They're everyone's got their opinions, but it looks like everyone at least is going to give it a shot.
Well, of all the movies that we've watched so far on this program with you that we've seen, these two I can recommend probably, even if you could possibly not even lose friends with Dune, even if it was the theatrical version.
This isn't even like close to the worst week.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. But when you brought it up, because Dune does deserve to be on that level, because it is one of those movies. Same thing, Masters of the Universe is. Like I said, the things that across the board about these films that are similar are the expectations that they are built upon, the fact that they were huge letdowns, they had a lot of money put into them. You could even get into the subtler similarities with the storylines themselves and how He-Man is seen as a hero and how the character I just forgot his name, the main character.
Skeletor?
No. In Dune,
Paul.
Paul. How Paul is the hero there, and the similarities between their stories. And if they had Prince Adam in the He-Man story, it would have been a little bit more even. So, but just the fact that the movies were destroyed basically by the studios. There's so many similarities to these films.
What's the? I'm going to cut you guys off. What's the status on this release?
This one is supposed to be out in October, but I wouldn't be surprised if they move it up.
I mean, just these two still shots, fellas. I'm like, I can't wait to see this. I don't know. Is it me? I mean, I'm just like excited to see these two characters.
I like the shots. The shots look great. My only worry, and it's the same worry whenever I hear about a new release, like what is Hollywood going to do this time? And I hate that that's the first thought that pops in my head. But it's what's happened since we've got all these different things going into movies these days.
Well, ironically enough, if Netflix gets their He-Man off the ground,
I would now. That's the last question.
I was going to
of
say it'll almost
all
be like
this.
history
Yes.
repeating itself, but we may get, a completely different version of it in the sense that this Dune might be very good.
Mhm.
If Netflix retools He-Man enough, it may be very good.
So what's the story on that?
Well, it originally started over at Sony, and I'm going to
Mhm.
turn this one over to Andre again because he's probably much better at explaining the situation than I am.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, in short, it's been at Sony for the past decade and a half, and they spent millions trying to develop it and extend the rights and all of that. And then they had eventually they kind of like got the ball rolling
Mhm.
with the brothers Nee that are set to direct it. They cast a star in Adam Centineo, who looks nothing at all like either Adam or He-Man. So God only knows why they cast him.
Mhm.
That's like the only casting that we have. It's written and produced by David Goyer, but again directed by the Nee brothers. And then at some point, Tom Rothman, I think, lost faith in it because he sold the entire project to Netflix. Or at least by all accounts, that is what he's done. So the movie is now going to be a co-production between Sony and Netflix directly. So it'll be a straight to Netflix ordeal. And in that, I think that it's going to be majorly reworked for Netflix. Last thing we heard is that it's basically no news, that it's kind of like in a complete standstill. There's no real development happening. I have to check for updates, but I think it's not dead in the water, but it's certainly on ice unless like something has happened behind the scenes that we don't know. But yeah, I think it's kind of like on. I think it's probably on
I can
ice at
speculate.
Netflix.
I think I brought this up to you, Andre, and you may have agreed with me at the time. I think Netflix did put it on a little bit of hold because it was going to be a big production. And I think they're holding off to see how the new He-Man series is perceived and how the Kevin Smith series is perceived. And then from there, they'll probably decide how to go forward.
I agree with that. That sounds very plausible.
I don't think Noah is going to continue because unless he has absolutely nothing else on his plate and they decide to go forward with him, and same thing with maybe the directors as well, because sooner or later people move on and the contract time work, goes on and they just, these things happen in Hollywood. That's just the way it works. Eventually we'll just get an announcement that somebody else is directing and it's probably got a new star and all that kind of stuff. And I think whichever version we'll get will depend on which version is more popular on Netflix.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree. I also think that it's on hold until like Kevin Smith's animated series is released, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the voice cast from that continue on in a future live action thing.
And the other thing is they have the more child-friendly version that's also coming out. So again, I think they're going to kind of compare the two, see which one's more popular, and decide from there which the better route to go is.
Yeah,
And
because
go ahead, Andre. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, because I was just going to say that because the movie that Sony was developing at the time when Netflix took over, I think that they probably would have seen that as a little bit too off-brand, because their continuation of the animated series is, by the looks of it, is going to be very, very much like the Filmation series. The new like 3D animated stuff for kids is going to be like that too, only for kids. And then to develop something live action and continue something that was started under Sony that didn't know what the hell they were doing, it just seems unlikely to me. So I think they're going to retool it in a major way, probably after the animated series.
And that's Kevin Smith's animated series?
Yes.
And I think
we're getting two animated series.
Mess.
We're getting two?
Yeah, we're getting a kid-friendly one and the Kevin Smith one, which is supposed to be more adult-oriented.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but doesn't it go away from actual He-Man? It like goes, because I think that was the big rumor.
That is the big rumor. I don't know the veracity of it. We have and we don't know, but probably it's true.
It kind of, and here's the thing. I kind of get and I'm not making excuses for Kevin Smith, but I kind of get where he may be coming from on this. If you look at the Filmation series, there are a few key episodes that actually kind of carry through a storyline. And there is an unresolved storyline there that I think he's working towards. And that is, what is Tila's true destiny? Because she's supposed to, for spoilers, she's the daughter of the sorceress. And so hence she's the next sorceress. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's probably what most of the story is going to be about. We are told that we get to see the final battle with He-Man and Skeletor, meaning He-Man will probably finally defeat Skeletor. And so then when his, journey's done, it'll be him helping Tila in her journey probably. So I get where some people are like, well, I don't know about that, but it is true to the original lore. It depends on how they depict it, though. I'm willing to give certain people the benefit of the doubt that are involved with the series because it does have some good pedigree behind it. Mm-hmm. Kevin Smith gives me a lot of fucking pause. I love the guy. I love his movies, but he's become,
what Kevin Smith are we going to get?
Yeah, exactly. He's become a completely different Kevin Smith.
Are we going to get the crying Smith?
And I even found a clip from his show Comic Book Men where he even says he's not a He-Man fan.
Ooh. I mean,
it's kind of the contextual thing, but at the same time, because this is a concern I brought up way before when this was first announced, I said to Andre, I said, because like you, Paulie, he's in that age group where I'm like, he'd have been aged out of He-Man. Yeah, I get it. He's a nerd and a geek. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time picturing a 13, 14-year-old kid playing with Masters of the Universe who's into comic books like Kevin was. I doubt he was ever into He-Man, and it kind of shows in that comment. And I feel like this is just Kevin Smith giving us the shill business again.
But didn't David Lynch say the same thing? He was not a sci-fi or Dune.
Yeah, but there's he never claimed to be, because the problem with Kevin Smith is like
he's claimed.
Let's like one thing clear.
Oh, gotcha.
No one is required to be a fan of what they're adapting. Like if you just look at Nicholas Meyer, he wasn't a fan of Star Trek. He still isn't a fan of Star Trek.
No, he'll admit
it. But he is a great storyteller, and so he was able to make the best Star Trek movies. So you don't have to be a fan. But that's what I like about David Lynch, because he was very, very clear. He wasn't a fan of the book. He had never heard of it. He wasn't familiar with it. He read it and he liked it fine, and now he's going to make his movie. That's fine. That's a healthy thing. And then you're like upfront about it. So same with me. I would say I don't care about Star Wars. I didn't grow up with it. It's like, but don't pretend to be something you're not.
Yeah, like
Kevin Smith, he was like, oh, I'm such a super fan. Blah 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 blah.
I like to suck He-Man's dick. Like he's just going on. Like,
if you're gonna say stuff like that can be so hyperbolic, you better mean it. And if it then comes like something out later, like I'm not that big a fan, like, well, then why did you say you were? Just be honest and say, well, you're not really a fan, but you're going to do your best to do it right anyway. And everyone is going to be fine. There's no need to pretend to be a fan of something you're not.
Yeah, one last question, guys. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead. Yeah,
I was just going to say, he could have just quickly said, like, look, I've never been a huge fan of He-Man. I was too old when it came out, but I know comic books, and I did read a few He-Man comic books, and I've read a lot of Conan, so I understand the character, whatever. But I'm sure Mattel didn't want him to say the Conan part.
Yeah, of course they want to avoid all of that.
But no, that's really all he had to say to the fans. Yeah, it was
And one last suggestion, and why not, Tom? Why not?
Honestly, don't discount it now that it's on Netflix. I wouldn't. I mean,
what Tom conversation there would be no Tom conversation, Andre, without the mention of Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai,
of course.
Well, I mean, again, like I wouldn't be surprised if that's the way Netflix ends the show with some kind of movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But of course, what is a movie if not like just a really condensed TV series?
Well, this has been amazing. A first for our little channel to have such wonderful people as Andre and Tom of Midnight's Edge on, and Tom's been on our channel now for a few times, and we really appreciate it, man. A really big thank you to Andre and to Tom of Midnight's Edge, Yeti. This is cool, man.
This has been awesome.
Well, I wish we would have got to listen to you guys talk a little bit more about it, but hopefully you guys got some info and enjoyed the films, even if they were not the greatest films in the world.
Yeah. And to anyone that's curious, actually, seriously, do seek out and find Dune, the alternate edition or alternative edition Redux by Spice Diver, because that one is actually good.
I can
Yeah,
almost tell you this much, you two. If you were to watch the extended, the whatever version it was that Andre just recommended, he would probably have you guys on for a conversation to see what you thought. I bet you.
I do want to see the redo.
Yeah, I could do
Because
that.
it was part of my teenage years, and I did read the books, even though I haven't read them in quite a while. And someone asked if I'd seen the sci-fi TV series. I think I saw a few episodes of it, and that's all I needed to see. I don't know. They looked all right. I think it was you know. But let's go around the horn and let us know what you guys are doing the next couple of days. Let's start with Mr. Andre.
Well, next couple of days, it's probably going to be mostly Star Wars and Gina Carano on the Midnight's Edge channel, because she has her interview with Daily Wire coming out tomorrow. So yeah,
and we
that's
actually
going to
have
be
a video covering it
taking up next 2 days.
soon.
We do very soon,
like in the next hour, hopefully.
Yeah.
And speaking of Tom,
yeah, just stay tuned for that. We saw the interview already, and yeah, we got the lowdown. So
wow. But you saw the interview already?
Yeah.
Oh, it's released already?
For those who have subscriptions, to the Daily Wire, you can see it early.
Oh, okay. When does that drop? Your video
In the next, hopefully in the next hour.
Oh, is that what you're simultaneously working on?
Yes, yeah.
It's amazing that you can simultaneously work on that and yet do this.
I did kind of slack. I should have had Rob work on this, but oh well. I really want to get this done too, so we can get it out.
Yeah.
So.
I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait. The Great Yeticast. What you got?
Oh, well, first, I just want to thank those guys for coming and bringing a little balance to, my type of comments that I usually make about furry eyebrows and stuff. So thank you for bringing that balance. In the next couple days, on Mondays, I do a talk, just a movie talk with a couple of friends. We're figuring out the final details. It's been on my channel for a little bit, but so check that out. It's always at 4 Pacific Standard Time on Tuesdays. Do the comic roundtable. I think it's on 24/7's channel this week, and then
it's 5 p.m. Central or Pacific. I forget, but
his is 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Pacific, okay.
Yeah, and then always Saturdays with the Latino Slant doing these amazing shows. And I've put out a couple of very quick videos over the last couple of days. I'm trying to give out a little bit more while I do the big videos, so go check out those. They're a couple real quick jokes, but I think it's something, if you need a quick laugh, check them out.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, including all the new people who've subscribed over the last week. We see the nice jump. Bienvenidos to the Latino Slant. Every Tuesday night is more of a kind of either a Latino special guest, maybe an actor, maybe a musician. But this Tuesday is going to be really unique and different. Because of Black History Month, I've put together a different type of panel, and we're going to be talking about Blaxican histories. Blaxican History Month. These are notable historical figures in Mexico, Mexican history, that were mixed, and they did some amazing things, like they ended slavery in 1829. They were a great president, and they were also black. They were black Mexicans. It is a fantastic panel. Myself, Lorena Creo, and I got my martial arts teacher, Reggie Johnson, who's also a big DC nut. He's going to be on the panel talking about just these fantastic figures from Mexico's past. We're going to connect that too with some of the stuff we're seeing nowadays, as far as with race swapping of some of our favorite legends, and get their insight. Which we might have some different opinions, but if we can come together and chat, that's what the Latino Slant is all about. All right, that's this Tuesday night at 7 p.m. All right, let me take myself out. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Y'all
you for
have a
having
great,
us.
yeah, have a great one, Andre. Have a great one, Tom.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, we'll see you guys later. We'll take you out with some music. Be well, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Slam. Slam. All right, Paulie, let's go.